everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video I'm doing my June and July 2022 monthly reading wrap up. I combined the 2 months because the past 2 months I've been extremely busy, so I haven't been able to read as much as I would have liked. And at the end of June, I was going to make one of these videos, but I only had about 3 or 4 books read at the time. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to wait until the following month and then I'm just going to combine the two, as I've done a couple times in the past, I believe, just when I've been busier or just have been kind of in, I don't want to say it's a reading slump, I've just genuinely been busy, but I've been trying to prioritize reading again and cutting out more time for reading than I was more in June. So we're going to talk about all of the books I've read in the past 2 months, and let's just jump in and talk about these. I have some 5-star reads in here and just some solid books to talk about, so let's get into it. The first book I read in the month of June is We'll Always Have Summer. This is the third and final book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. I wanted to read this trilogy before the show came out, so I successfully did that before the episode and the first season was released. In the trilogy, you just kind of see how everything plays out, how everything turns up, who she decides to choose, and I just personally think it was the best situation it could have been for the circumstances that she was in, because I think it was a very odd circumstance being in a love triangle with 2 brothers. But I did genuinely really enjoy it, and I know a lot of people are haters of love triangles. I personally enjoy them if they're done well. Yeah, I just always feel like for the majority of love triangles, you can totally tell right from the beginning which one they'll end up with. But this I was a little bit more, it took me a little longer to figure out, but I was definitely on a certain team, and I'm not going to tell you because if you haven't read it, I don't want to give anything away, but I was on a certain team and I just genuinely liked how everything ended up. I gave this book, I think, 4 stars. I gave this book 4 stars, and I just think it's a solid read and I just enjoyed it. Quick read. Whole trilogy is great. I recommend you read this. The next book I read is Things We Never Got Over. This book was definitely super trendy on social media a couple of months ago, and I bought it when it was trendy, so probably like later springtime I think this started getting popular, and it took me a really long time to get around to it, but I finally did because this book is super long. I did tab some things. I got things for annotating, and I got it toward the end of me reading this book, so as you can see, only like the last quarter of it is annotated. But this book is, it kind of has a lot going on. Basically, the main character, Naomi, is running away from a situation to this small town to help out her twin sister, who is pretty much just very insane, but also just kind of a free spirit, and she just doesn't have this great reputation in this small town. So she's going to try and help her sister out because she was saying she needs money and blah blah blah. So she's going to try and meet her sister, and everyone in the town instantly thinks Naomi is her sister, and since she has such a bad reputation, she's starting to get in fights with people. People are trying to kick her out of places, and she has to keep explaining, hey, I'm just looking for my sister. Her sister ends up taking her car and just pretty much leaving her with nothing, and also leaving her with her daughter that Naomi didn't know existed. So now it is like single parent trope, and it is also small town trope. And while all of this happens pretty quickly, she is with this guy named Knox, who is just this super big hard head. He's just very, very stubborn and grumpy. It's the absolute grumpy sunshine of a book, and he sees all this happening to her, and he's like trying to help her out as much as he can. So you just see them start to form this connection while she has literally no house, no car, pretty much no money, and it's a really entertaining book, and I definitely recommend it. Now, my opinions. I think this book could have been 200 pages shorter. I think there was absolutely zero reason this book needed to be almost 600 pages. And I also think the ending was very rushed, and I notice in these long books they take so much time for everything, which is fine. Slow burn, I'm okay with that, but then everything always wraps up very quickly, and I feel like the ending is never how I want it to be, or I just want more answers. There was a lot of like characters that got involved in this book and a lot of kind of plot, like subplots, and I feel like they didn't fill that in to where I wanted it. At the end it just kind of had this kind of plot twist crazy ending, and then it just ended kind of abruptly in my opinion. I did give it 4 stars. I enjoyed the characters. I actually really liked the kid in this book, and I don't like kids in most books, and also if you read the book you know what the cover is for, and I just think that's adorable. Next, I had to get my Coho fill. I just kind of wanted a quick read after that, and this is what I picked up next. At the time my friend was reading this. This is Confess by Colleen Hoover, and I knew pretty much nothing about it when I got into it. The main character's name is Auburn. She is going to this new city, trying to get back on her feet, and she's just kind of trying to figure out herself. And she's basically looking for work anywhere, and she sees this art studio that she walks past, and it's literally saying like, we are so desperate for work. So she walks inside, tries to get a job, and she meets this guy named Owen who runs the art studio or whatever, and he basically gives her a job, but it's literally like a 1 day a month type of situation. He says he makes art all month, and then 1 day a month he has this show. So she's like, hey, I'd love to work it, and she ironically walks in on the day that the show is happening. So she goes there, helps out, whatever. You see them start to form this connection a little bit, and then pretty much the entire book is he knows more about her than she does him. So you're kind of trying to figure out this confession that he has, and I think it's really cool. All of his artwork is based on people's confessions. So he has this box at his art studio. You can drop your confession in, good, bad. There's some horrendous confessions that people put in, but they're anonymous, so he has no idea, and he makes artwork out of them. And I just think the idea is really cool. You get to see some art in the book, and I really enjoyed it. There is a huge plot twist in this too, so you know when it's Coho, it probably is a plot twist, and I think this book was just so sweet and so good, and I loved it. I gave that book 5 out of 5 stars. I think it is one of her most underrated books that I have read thus far of reading her books. Next book, this is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren, and everyone talks about it, and I didn't know anything about it, but I wanted to check it out, and I kind of don't want to give a description about this because I feel like a lot just is given away if I give a description, and there's not too much to explain. All I'll say is a second chance romance, and I just absolutely loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. Both the people in this book are very nerdy, and they're into reading, and they're into kind of more statistics. They're kind of like a nerdy duo, so I personally love reading that in books, but if you're not into it, then maybe you shouldn't read it. But I just absolutely loved this. This book did have kind of a plot twist, I guess, like you could say. I just thought it was a solid read, and I don't know, I just really loved it. It's very comforting. It's totally like a cozy fall, snuggle up book, in my opinion. Now moving on to the books that I read in the month of July, which is only 3. So as you can see, haven't been reading too much this summer. First book that I read in the month of July was Maybe Someday. This has so many water stains on it and water damage because I read this in my pool about a girl named Sydney who is living with her boyfriend in this apartment, and she notices this guy across the street who always just plays guitar, and he is just like very into music. So she always goes out and watches him, and basically something happens at the beginning of the book that like she needs to leave her apartment. Like she cannot stay there anymore. An agreement is made that she can live there rent-free if she helps him write lyrics to his songs, because he has all of these riffs, he has all of this choreography to the guitar down, but he cannot figure out lyrics. He is in this lyric slump and he can't figure out anything, and she agrees to help him. And there is a plot twist in this at the beginning as well as at the end. So there's kind of quite a few plot twists in this, in my opinion, and I feel like you either love or hate the plot twist that you find out kind of quickly on. So I totally enjoyed this. I love music. I love reading about people who love music. I find it very interesting and super entertaining, and I just thought it was a super solid read. I gave this book 4 stars. I think it's a solid read. It wasn't my favorite Coho book, but I totally liked it. Next book I read is Where She Went. This is by Gail Forman, and I absolutely loved If I Stay. It is one of my favorite movies and probably one of my favorite books of all time. I just think it has such a comforting vibe to it, and just the couple is like my favorite. I love the characters. I love everything about the movie and the book. As you can see, I've annotated a lot in this book. There was so many good lyrics. There was so much going on. This is just a continuation of If I Stay, which that book kind of left off on a cliffhanger. So this book is like 5 years later after Mia's accident. It's like 3 or 5 years later or something like that, and she and Adam are completely separate ways, and you see them run back into each other. And most of this book takes place in one day, but then it jumps back into the past of like their dates and Adam's life and his band and everything like that. So it does kind of jump around, but majority of the present is taking place within 2 days. I loved annotating this book because there was so many awesome quotes and just really cute scenes in the pages that I loved. The final book I read this month, and I literally just finished this book like an hour ago. I actually started this book about, I want to say like 5 or 6 months ago, and I just could not get into it. I thought the characters were cheesy. I didn't like how it started out. I literally read the first 30 pages and I gave up on it, and I have never DNF'd a book. And then I got to thinking and I was like, maybe I just needed to give it more time. Maybe I just was not in the mood for that. So then I went back, as I did the other day, and I was like, I'm gonna give this another shot because people always rave about Natasha Preston and she's definitely a popular thriller writer. So I wanted to give this another shot, especially because it takes place kind of at a cabin. So it's like, it's slightly summery, I guess. So this book is about Esme and Kayla, and when this duo was kids, they went to this camp and basically something horrible happened and they will not speak of it. So then 10 years later they want to go back because they did like the camp and they wanted to be counselors now that they are of the age, but they go back and their past just totally is brought with them, and someone is stalking the camp and they know about what these two did 10 years ago. So you're seeing this, you're seeing them make friends, but they are being shady, there's secrets going around, and it's very eerie, I feel like, for the majority of it. I think this book was fast-paced, I think it was well thought out, and I genuinely enjoyed it. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was a solid read. I would definitely recommend it. It was not my favorite thriller or anything like that. I'm very picky about thriller and horror books, but I did think it was totally a solid read. I think you should check it out. You either will kind of like how it ends or you won't. I just watch enough psychological thriller and horror movies to know how a lot of stuff ends up. So I have seen endings play out how this one did, and I guess I'm kind of used to it. So it's kind of an unsettling ending, I guess, but I did enjoy it. I'm very glad I was able to get back into reading a little bit and make this video. I'm really hoping in my August to make more time of getting off my phone and doing things that I don't care about as much to get back into reading more, because I genuinely love it. I have not been in a slump or anything. I've just been very distracted, and I want to definitely prioritize reading more because it's like literally my favorite thing on earth. So a great lineup personally for all of these books. I think all of these were 4 and 5 stars. Just a really great time. I enjoyed all of these and you should totally check them out if they are up your alley. So I will see you guys all next time. Thank you so much for watching. You should definitely subscribe if you're into book content, and I'll see you all next week, next couple weeks.